Greetings. Because of an audio failure on our service of Sunday, February 23rd, we are videoing the inspirational reading and talk, and the subject matter is divine reversal. Our inspirational reading is The River Cannot Go Back by Khalil Gibran, and I would like to read this to you at this time. The river cannot go back. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages, and in front of her she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there's no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear, because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. Today's subject is all about divine reversal, of knowing who and what we are, and the Great Awakening. And I've chosen scriptures from Esther, chapter 3 and 4. And these are long chapters. So basically, it's about a man whose name was Haman, who was given absolute authority by the king to do whatever he wanted to do, and also that everyone should bow and listen to what he had to say. Now, there was a man by the name of Mordecai who refused to bow to Haman. And so Haman was outraged. And then he found out that Mordecai was a Jew. And so he decided that Mordecai should die. But then all of a sudden, he decided that all of the Jews should die. And the story goes on that Mordecai was frightened. He began to think about what was going to happen to him and so on. And now here comes Esther. Esther was a Jew, and she was telling him not to react. And we'll get into that in just a moment. Haman's plot to destroy the Jews. At all the royal officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to Haman, for the king had commanded this concerning him. But Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor. Day after day they spoke to him, but he refused to comply. Therefore they told Haman about it to see whether Mordecai's behavior would be tolerated, for he told them he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay honor to him, he was enraged. You have learned who Mordecai's people were. He scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai. Instead, Haman looked for a way to destroy all Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom. And now we go to chapter 4. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasure for the Jews to destroy them. And at that point, we see that Mordecai went to bed dressed in sackcloth and surrounded himself with ashes, concentrating on how he was going to die. And so Esther then sent words to him and said, Think not that thou shalt escape, but if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverances arrive to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And I love this part. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai the answer. In other words, give this answer to Mordecai. Now remember, Mordecai has gone to bed covered with sackcloth and ashes and just accepting his so-called fate. And her message was, go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so I will go unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. Remember, Esther was a Jew, and Haman said, kill all the Jews. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. In other words, he began to become aware of the presence of God. God is in control. God energy is control. So he got up and began to do as Esther requested. So, I taught sermon preparation for many years in the United Metaphysical Church's seminary department. And one of the things you learn in sermon preparation is you tell them what you're going to tell them. You tell them what you're going to tell them. And today, it's divine reversal and how it really works and how to get it to work. And now you told them and tell them what you told them. And that's part of the divine awakening. Or I'm going to tell you about a new word, diapause. Think about it as we go forth. The divine reversal, no matter what's going on, no matter who says what. Remember in this story, Haman was given authority by the king, and no one could dispute that. Got the message? How does that relate today? Think about it. Possible. Think about possible things with you. Possible unemployment. Health precariousness. Relationships. And of course, self-serving politics. Think about it. Think about accepting possibilities and probabilities. Think about who you are and what you are and why you are here at this time. So I should ask you, how are you, or what are you experiencing in your consciousness right now? Are you like Esther? Or are you like Mordecai? Is this the end, or is it the beginning? I think the scripture of Esther gives us some very good examples of what could happen and what does happen when we understand divine reversal. More scripture. If thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, if you just keep quiet about this time and accept things, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? And what is this time? I believe the great awakening of consciousness, not only of people here in this country, but all of the world, to bring us to a better understanding that I'm your brother whether you like it or not. And we are all co-creators, and we are able to use that ability to create this divine peace on earth. And what is the deeper meaning of the book of Esther? Far from being secular, Esther pushes us to look at our own lives and consider how God energy might be actively working behind the scenes, even in the face of a great threat or tragedy, to accomplish its good and perfect purposes. You know, there was a book written years ago, Where is God When It Hurts? That's part of what I call the divine awakening. You know, what is the key message of Esther? The book of Esther is in the Bible to show us, and this is so important if you don't hear anything else I'm saying today, the message that's there is that the hiddenness of God is not the absence of God. Even though God energy is not even mentioned in the entire book, the God energy sovereignly and mercifully preserves the people in the midst of adversity. That's the message of Esther. And why is the story of Esther so important for us today? You know, whatever dark place we are in today, whether by hapless circumstances or by our own actions, God energy hasn't forgotten or neglected you. Esther's story invites us to cling to hope, however small, and to have confidence that whatever evil might currently reign, the story of God energy isn't finished. And so the question is, where do we go from here? When all else is lost, the future still remains. You've heard it said, if you're going to go down, go all the way. And there's only one way to go, and that is up. Well, it appears that we've gone about as low as we can go, and there's only one way to go, and that's up. And how do we do that? The solution. I believe hitting rock bottom seems to be full of only suffering. Oh, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm experiencing. What if this happens? What if that happens? Sounds like Mordecai covered with ashes and sackcloth at that point, doesn't it? But what if when we hit rock bottom, it's divinely orchestrated? It's divinely orchestrated to disrupt the pattern we're living in and redirect our path to reconnect with the core of who and what we are. Part of the Great Awakening, if you will. As we've previously stated, the purpose of our service is to inform and transform. You know, I think a perfect example of today's lesson, since it is also February and it's Black History Month, is a lady by the name of Elizabeth Freeman, who was a little-known slave, a little-known hero, and a symbol of courage and spirit to all who strive for freedom. She was among the first slaves in Massachusetts to sue for and win her freedom. Talk about something stirring and a great important awakening. In 1780, did you get that date? 1780. Freedom either heard the newly ratified Massachusetts Constitution read a path at a public gathering in Sheffield, Connecticut, or overheard her master talking at events in the home. She included and heard the following: all men are born free and equal and have certain natural, essential, and unalienable rights, among which may be reckoned the right of enjoying and defending their lives and liberties, that of acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, in fine, that of seeking and obtaining their safety and happiness. Inspired by these words, she sought the counsel of Theodore Sedgwick, a young abolition-minded lawyer, to help her sue for freedom in court. According to Catherine Sedgwick's account, she told him, I heard that paper read yesterday that says all men are created equal and that every man has a right to freedom. I am no dumb critter. You are no dumb critter. Won't the law give me my freedom? much deliberation, Sedgwick accepted her case as Dallas Brom, another of Ashley's slaves. He enlisted the aid of Tapping Reeves, the founder of Litchfield Law School, one of America's earliest law schools, located in Litchfield, Connecticut. They were two of the top lawyers in Massachusetts, and Sedgwick later served as a U.S. Senator. Mumbet, Elizabeth Freeman, after obtaining her freedom, worked for the Sedgwick family and is the only person, not a family member, buried in their memorial gardens. You know, when she was buried, he read these words. Elizabeth Freeman, also known by the name of Mumbet, died December 28th, 1829. Her supposed age was 85 years. She was a born slave and remained a slave for nearly 30 years. She could neither read nor write. Yet in her own sphere, she had no superior or equal. She neither wasted time nor property. She never violated a trust, nor failed to perform a duty. In every situation of domestic trial, she was the most efficient helper and the tenderest friend. And his ending words were, "Good mother, farewell." Mumbet was a part of the solution. Something spoke from within her. She realized that she was a divine being. Remember, a slave, she was programmed and trained and orchestrated. But outside of all that, something within her came forth. I ain't no critter. How beautiful. And the rest is history, which is continuing to unfold even as we speak. And it's called divine reversal, God energy manifesting. And that is part of our solution as well. We need not ignore, run away from, or continue to struggle what must seem and may seem on the outside impossible. We need to just let go and let God. Through the realization of who and what we are, co-creators, we create unity and community. You know, in conclusion, what does Esther teach us? And today's meeting, what's it all about? From Esther to Elizabeth Freeman Mumbet. The story is full of odd coincidences and ironic reversals that force you to see God's purpose at work behind every scene. The book of Esther asks us to trust in God's energies, providence, even when we can't see it working. That requires a posture of hope, to trust God's energies commitment to redeem its good world and overcome that which appears to be evil. You know, I remember 29 years ago when Arlington Chapel and other members of the United Metaphysical Churches decided to purchase the Roanoke property for national headquarters. Yes, that kind of thinking was also there. 21 acres with lots of old buildings. Well now, have you lost your mind? This could happen, that could happen, blah, blah, blah. Well, we purchased the property, and for 28 years, it provided a place for our seminary to educate our ministers. It provided a place to have monthly programs, to establish a local congregation, and many other events too numerous to mention. With the help of so many people, like-minded people, it was successful, to say the least. I remember finding a picture of myself unloading a truck wearing a t-shirt that somebody had printed, and it said in print, "Everything will be all right." You know, I guess so many people were saying this could happen and that could happen. And my continued response was, everything will be all right. And somebody went and had a t-shirt printed. And so there it was. Everything will be all right. As I leave you this day, may your remembrance of me be not of me, but simply of our metaphysical teachings. God energy is never still. If God energy rested, our hearts wouldn't beat, and the tides wouldn't ebb and flow. Who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? You and all souls everywhere on the planet at this time are here as part of the Great Awakening. That Great Awakening that I am a co-creator, a co-manifester with God energy. We're part of that ocean, and we're part of the divine reversal, the story of Esther. And so, let us follow Esther's advice. Meditate, pray. Let us take the advice of Esther. And again, just pause. What does that mean? That's following nature. The queen bee, how does she survive? All during the winter, with the snow and the ice and the winds and all of the negative things that are going on all around, and all the rest of the critters of nature. They do a thing called dipause, D-I-P-A-U-S-E. They go deep within and allow all of that to go past, and they're not a part of it. Esther is doing the same thing of saying, pray and meditate. Dipause, depause. It does not yet appear what we shall become. And I leave you with a message. Don't believe it, just know it. Everything will be all right. God bless.